Hay Day is the oldest Supercell game that is still available, and it is pulling in millions of dollars every single month. However, you never actually seem to hear about the game. Their uploads on their YouTube channel are inconsistent at best, and there doesn't seem to be much content being made around the game like there is with other Supercell games. So how is it still doing so well despite there seeming to be no hype around the game, and with it only getting 4 or 5 updates a year compared to the much higher numbers that the other Supercell games receive? Well, today we'll be going over how the game became popular and just how it has maintained its status despite arguably being the least well-known Supercell game. Hay Day was Supercell's first major mobile game release, with it launching on June 21st in 2021. At the time, the mobile gaming scene was still developing, with there not really being any high-quality farming games. There was a popular game called Farmville, however, this was a Facebook game and wasn't for mobile devices. But it did prove that farming was a popular genre and there was demand for it. So this would create a gap in the market, which was perfect for Hay Day and is a large part of the success that the game initially had. Hay Day entered the market when many people were getting smartphones, and the game had great graphics and provided a lot more than most other games out there. This was also a game that could be as simple or as complex as you wanted it to be, and that made it perfect for a ton of different people. Plus, the game was free, which was obviously good as it made it more accessible to a bunch of different people. And all of these things would really just help the game grow at the beginning, and it let Supercell get their name out in the industry. However, at the beginning, the game was quite different from how it is today, and it really would be the updates that would make the game a lot better and what would lead to its long-term success. One of the most significant updates came in 2014 to 2015 when Supercell introduced social features such as neighborhoods and the Derby feature. The neighborhoods were added in 2014 and the Derby was added in 2015. These additions really opened up the social aspect of the game and made it multiplayer. Players couldn't exactly interact directly with each other like they can in all of the other Supercell games. However, this did allow them to play together and compete against each other in a way. And if it wasn't for this expansion of the social aspect of the game, then the game would not have made it this far. And over time, there were also many different updates that would add in new production buildings and crops and other stuff like that, and that would just help keep people playing since there was new stuff being added to the game. But another key update was the introduction of pets and other things to help customize your farm. This would make people more attached to their farms, and that would keep them coming back to the game. It gave people a sense of pride and ownership, and I'd say it is better in Hay Day than in something like Clash of Clans. And then there was also the addition of the town, and this was a major expansion to the game, and this was in 2014. This would just add a lot more stuff for people to do, and it was basically like a game within a game. This would give you more to look forward to, and it also just made people more attached to the game because now they had a town to look after instead of just a farm. And then in 2019, there would also be the addition of the Valley, and this was another major expansion to the game. This would really focus more on the social aspect and was really fun, and this would also just add more for someone to do in the game, which is what would keep people playing. And there would be a bunch more changes and updates, however, I feel like those are the main ones to mention for right now. But next up, I think we really need to focus on how the game makes money, since that is a really important factor to look at, and it may provide answers as to how the game is still making so much money. Hay Day's financial success is built on a well-designed free-to-play model with in-app purchases. The game allows players to progress without spending any money, but it does offer various ways to speed up progress or get exclusive items through spending their premium currency. The primary form of premium currency in Hay Day is diamonds. These can be used to speed up production processes, buy rare items, or unlock features early. The scarcity of diamonds in normal gameplay creates value for them, and this encourages people to buy diamonds, however, it is never forced. And in 2020, Hay Day would introduce something called the Farm Pass. This was something that you could buy, and it would last one season and just let you progress faster and give you more stuff. This is something that we have now seen in every single Supercell game, and that is just because it is a great source of revenue. This provides enough value that some people will justify spending money on this and not on anything else in the game. Special offers and bundles are another key part of Hay Day's monetization strategy. These deals create a sense of urgency and often provide better value than standard purchases, and this gets people to impulsively spend money. But something important to note is that compared to other Supercell games, Hay Day's monetization is less aggressive. It doesn't rely heavily on competitive elements to drive purchases. Instead, it focuses on convenience and cosmetic items. This approach aligns well with the game's relaxed atmosphere and helps maintain a positive relationship with the player base, and that is different from the other Supercell games in which the purpose is to just compete against one another. And that is actually a really important thing we need to look at, since it is this type of gameplay and environment that has really helped Hay Day keep people playing. Hay Day's "nothing bad ever really happens" philosophy creates a stress-free environment that players can return to in order to just relax or escape from whatever problems they may be having. This contrasts with many other Supercell games that rely on tension or competition to drive engagement. I mean, in Clash Royale, you are literally going head to head against someone, and that just creates a ton of rage moments. Those games just make you frustrated, meanwhile Hay Day keeps you relaxed. Hay Day is just a whole lot more wholesome than the other Supercell games, and that is why it has such a tight community that plays the game for so long. There obviously is a competitive aspect, however that is not very big, and it is pretty much just an optional thing. There are also just regular small events that are constantly happening in Hay Day, and those have become like a routine for players and are something that keeps them coming back to the game. There are rarely ever any big events like there are in Clash of Clans and Clash Royale, and I suppose that is why there doesn't seem to be too much hype around the game. But the player base for Hay Day is also a lot older than the other games, so they don't need all these big events to stay on the game. Another thing about the game is its design, since that allows players to make meaningful progress in short play sessions, and that fits well into daily routines. This incremental progress model means that even busy players can feel a sense of achievement with just a few minutes of play each day. And I had mentioned this earlier, but just the whole customization aspect has also made the game really good. This is because it gives players a more personal connection to their farms, and that just keeps them coming back. In Clash of Clans, most people don't even design their own bases and instead just copy from others. And in games like Brawl Stars, Squad Busters, and Clash Royale, you don't even have a base and there isn't much customization you can exactly do. This is what makes Hay Day have a much stronger community that is attached to the game and what keeps them playing. All of these different factors combined just really show how Hay Day has managed to stay popular all this time despite it not getting a ton of attention. And to get a better understanding of this, we need to compare Hay Day to Boom Beach, since both of these are older Supercell games that don't receive much support now. However, Hay Day is just performing way better than Boom Beach, which is a game that is just struggling right now. Boom Beach was launched globally in 2014, and it is a combat strategy game that is quite similar to Clash of Clans. While it was initially successful, it faced several challenges that Hay Day managed to avoid. One of the main differences is in gameplay complexity. Boom Beach's strategy elements are more complex than Hay Day's straightforward farming mechanics. While having more complexity can be good, it can also just turn people away from the game. And I would also say that Boom Beach was even more complex than Clash of Clans. So in terms of the complexity, Hay Day was a much simpler game, and that is one thing that sets these two games apart. The competitive focus of Boom Beach is another big thing that sets it apart from Hay Day. Boom Beach is all about fighting, since that is what you do inside the game, and it is also a large part of the lore of the game. All of this could be considered negative stuff, and it makes people more likely to get agitated or annoyed if an attack didn't pan out how they wanted to, and that could cause them to leave the game. But with Hay Day, it is a peaceful game that is focused on just farming, and there isn't really anything that can go wrong here, so it is hard for someone to end up rage quitting the game. This creates a much more positive atmosphere, and it isn't competitive at all like Boom Beach. The target audience for each game is also very different. Boom Beach's military theme and strategy gameplay appeal to a more specific group of players, while Hay Day's farming concept has a broader, more universal appeal. This wider appeal allows Hay Day to attract and retain a larger and more diverse player base. And this is also why Hay Day doesn't need as much media attention in order to get players. It is really seen as a quiet success, and one significant reason for this is the limited YouTube coverage Hay Day receives. Strategy games like Clash of Clans generate more video content due to their competitive nature and varied gameplay strategies. These games lend themselves to tutorials, guides, and just overall interesting and exciting gameplay footage. In contrast, Hay Day's more straightforward gameplay isn't as exciting or fun to watch, which is why barely anyone makes videos on the game now. And this gives the illusion that the game isn't doing well or that there aren't many people playing, however that just isn't the case. On the other hand, you have a game like Boom Beach that also doesn't have many people making videos on it, and that is an indicator of the game not doing well since it is the worst performing Supercell game as of right now. This just shows how different both of these games are and helps show the different audiences. But another reason why the game doesn't get much attention is because of Supercell themselves. Right now, Supercell is really only marketing their most successful and newer games, and not games like Hay Day or Boom Beach. While Hay Day does receive updates and support, it just isn't shown as much in any promotional material as the other more famous Supercell games. This lack of marketing for the game lets it get overshadowed by the other games, and that is another reason why you don't hear about Hay Day that much. And another reason the game doesn't get much attention is because it is a casual game. This means there is nothing like esports that exists for this game, unlike Clash of Clans or Brawl Stars, which get hundreds of thousands of people watching. There isn't really anything high stakes going on inside or around this game, so despite the game staying on the low, it continues to perform well financially and maintains a strong, loyal player base. This success demonstrates that games don't always need constant attention or marketing to perform well in the long term. Instead, Hay Day's quiet success is built on a foundation of solid gameplay, regular updates, and a dedicated player base. So now that we have talked about Hay Day and seen how it became so popular and how it has remained so popular, let's actually look at what the future of the game could look like and if it's sustainable or not. One big opportunity for Hay Day lies in the potential expansion of its social features. As online communities become increasingly important in gaming, Hay Day could further strengthen its community engagement aspects. This could involve more collaborative events, enhanced player-to-player interactions, or even cross-farm projects that encourage players to work together in new ways. I think it would be cool if there was something like the clan capital from Clash of Clans but inside of Hay Day, but the main thing to think about for the future of the game is its relevancy. I mean, how much longer can Hay Day stay popular and continue to be successful? This game does have a strong player base, but eventually people will just stop playing. However, I honestly don't think that is going to be a problem for a long time because Hay Day has been really stable so far and there doesn't seem to be any risk of it facing any sort of drastic downfall. The game is still gaining plenty of new players and that helps balance out the older players leaving. We will really only have to worry about the future once the game stops getting new players, but for now it is doing really well. It is probably the least problematic and least controversial Supercell game, and I believe that it will stay like that. So overall, Hay Day has just been the game that has been in the background but has still remained very successful. It is different from all of the other Supercell games in that it is a peaceful game and there is nothing bad that ever happens in the game. The only sort of darkness around the game would be speculations around the lore, but that's about it. This is a game that just targets a different audience than all of the other Supercell games, which is why it may seem forgotten to those people. However, it is still very relevant for the people playing. This is just a game that has done what most other games cannot, and it is honestly just a really good game, and that is why it has stayed so successful. But that's also it for this video. This was a bit of a different video than I normally do, so please let me know what you think about it down in the comments, and please provide as much feedback as you can. But I still do hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.